Flaming hot, scorching hot. Gets you into trouble, and you like it level of hot.
A few weeks ago, I listened to an audiobook that has BookTok absolutely losing its collective shit. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And I'm here to tell you something that might hurt. This book is the literary equivalent of a gas station burrito. Sure, it'll fill you up, but you're going to regret it later. And we need to stop pretending this overcooked mess passes for good storytelling. But I'm not judging. I get it. I've been where you are. I've read books because everyone said I had to, because the algorithm told me to, and because I wanted to be part of the conversation. Hell, I once read all of 50 Shades because I thought I was missing something. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. And I wanted to like this book. Genuinely, I did. My wife loved it, and I loved when she read it, because it quite literally led to the conception of our child. I've been burned by popular opinion before, and I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be my actually the popular thing is good. But it wasn't. You know that feeling when you're the only person who doesn't get the joke? I was prepared to eat crow and admit BookTok found something I missed. But Fourth Wing isn't just disappointing. It's symptomatic of something rotten in publishing right now. All marketing hype without any of the talent.
Fascinating. You look all frail and breakable, but you're really a violent little thing, aren't you?
Violet Sorrengail is supposedly this fragile, chronically ill protagonist who needs to overcome impossible odds through grit and determination. Instead, she's a Mary Sue so blatant it insults our intelligence. This girl bonds with 2 dragons, unprecedented in this world's history. And then she goes on to develop multiple rare magical abilities and wins every fight despite being physically weak. It's like watching someone play a video game with God mode enabled. Where's the struggle? Where's the actual growth? She poisons her opponents before sparring matches and then is praised for being clever. And guys, it's ridiculous that fans online have praised Bisgayath War College for being a world that feels immersive and richly detailed. And real? In any real military setting, and trust me, I'm going to rip this place more in a bit. Poisoning your opponent, even mildly, would get you court-martialed, not celebrated. The book keeps telling us that Violet's fragile and physically incapable. But she succeeds at everything she touches and is killing multiple wyvern with ease by the end of the novel. Rebecca, just pick a lane. You can't have a character who's gone with limited training time due to her body failing her, and then a complete badass when the plot demands it. And here's what really pisses me off about this. I've read books with chronically ill protagonists that actually explores what that means. The invisible disabilities, the daily calculations of energy and pain, the way society treats you differently. Sandan Glokta from the First Law is brilliantly written in part because we feel his disabilities and how it affects his every action. It even goes so far as to humanize an otherwise horrible person. Violet's condition is just window dressing. It's a superficial obstacle that disappears whenever it's inconvenient for the plot.
Oh, God.
Which one are you calling out for? Because it's just you and me in this room, Vi, and I don't share.
If Violet is undercooked, the supporting characters are straight up raw in the middle. These aren't people. They're plot devices with names slapped on them. Take Dane. He only exists to be the rule-following bad boy who betrays Violet. His entire character arc is telegraphed from page 1. He's not a person making complex moral choices. He's a cardboard cutout labeled eventual betrayer that the author moves around the board when needed. And then there's Rhiannon, The loyal best friend whose only personality trait is supports Violet unconditionally. As far as we can tell, she has no goals, conflicts, or internal life. She's like having a golden retriever as your sidekick. Loyal and pleasant, but you wouldn't mistake her for a complex individual. And do not get me started on the dragons. These should be the most compelling characters in the book. Ancient, wise, powerful beings with their own agendas. Instead, they're magical relationship counselors who exist to solve romantic tension. Oh, our dragons mated, so I guess we have to bone now. It's lazy writing disguised as destiny. In a good fantasy novel, even minor characters feel like they have lives outside of the protagonist's story. Here, everyone exists in a holding pattern, waiting for Violet to show up so they can serve their designated plot function.
Going for blood today, are we, Violence?
But here's where this book really jumps the shark in Land's face first in a pile of nonsense. The world building. Specifically this war college that makes about as much sense as serving soup with a fork. And guys, let me cook, all right? I'm going with food metaphors, and you have to admit, that one works. Picture this. Your country, it's fighting a centuries-long war. You desperately need trained soldiers. Your resources are stretched thin. So naturally, you build a military academy where students murder each other for sport. Where the entrance exam alone kills half the candidates before training even starts. This would be like West Point having a tradition where cadets knife fight during orientation week while the instructors place bets. It's not building character. It's wasting the exact resource you cannot afford to lose. And guys, this parapet crossing, a death trap that serves no military purpose except for randomly thinning the herd. Real military training builds unit cohesion and trust. You want soldiers who will die for each other, not soldiers who've already proven they'll let their classmates fall to their death just for a slightly better grade. This place, it would produce either sociopaths or PTSD cases. Neither makes for an effective fighting force. It's like Yarros watched Full Metal Jacket, completely missed the point, and thought, you know what this needs? More arbitrary death. And here's something that made me laugh while I was researching this video. Yarros comes from a military family. Her parents are retired lieutenant colonels, and her grandfather is a retired general. How do you grow up around military culture and think this makes sense? It's like watching someone whose parents are chefs write a cookbook that suggests you cook chicken at room temperature for food safety. The whole selection system is backward. Instead of identifying the best potential soldiers and training them properly, they're essentially running a death lottery. Even the dragons pick their riders randomly rather than based on merit or compatibility. What's the point of any training if success is arbitrary?
My breath catches and my body warms, the traitorous bitch. You are not attracted to toxic men, I remind myself, and yet here I am, getting all attracted.
Then there's Xaden, our supposed enemy to lover interest. Except he's never actually her enemy. He swears to kill her for approximately, 5 minutes, and then immediately starts protecting her because their dragons made them do it. Duh. That's not enemies to lovers. That's mild inconvenience to lovers. It's like ordering a perfectly aged steak and getting served a McDonald's burger that's been sitting under a heat lamp for 3 hours. It's meat, but it's not what was promised. Where's the earned trust? Where's the character development? Their entire relationship is built on a supernatural bond that removes all agency and growth from both characters. It's relationship development by divine intervention. the laziest possible way to create romantic tension. I've seen more convincing chemistry between strangers in an elevator. And let's talk about the supposed sexual tension that everyone raves about. It's all surface level posturing with no emotional foundation. They smolder at each other because the plot says they should, not because there's any genuine connection or understanding between them. You want real enemies to lovers? Read something where the characters actually have to overcome fundamental differences in values or loyalties, where trust is earned through actions, not magical intervention, where the romance develops because the characters choose each other despite their history, not because fate made the choice for them. Go read The Traitor Baru Karamat and leave behind this drivel.
Violence.
He moans, and the sound of the nickname on his lips makes me ravenous.
All right. Speaking of lazy writing, let's talk about how this book treats its readers like idiots when it comes to plot twists. Every single revelation is telegraphed so heavily you could see it coming from orbit. The venom threat, obvious from chapter 3, despite being treated as a shocking revelation 2/3 through the book. The author, she drops hints with all the subtlety of a brick through a window, and then acts like the big reveal is some masterstroke of storytelling. Dane's betrayal? Please. The only surprise is that it took so long to happen. His character is set up as the rule-following antagonist from the first scene. There's no complexity or moral ambiguity, just a countdown to inevitable treachery. Even Xaden's protective nature is immediately obvious despite the narrative's clumsy attempts to maintain suspense about his intentions. The book keeps trying to convince you he might actually be dangerous while showing you every 5 pages that he's basically Violet's unpaid bodyguard. It's like watching a magic show where the magician shows you the rabbit before claiming it disappeared. The mechanics are so visible that any sense of wonder just evaporates.
Fuck. That stubborn, feisty look always makes me want to kiss you.
And can we talk about the dialogue? I'm going to talk about the dialogue. Because Jesus Christ, this is bad. Characters in this supposedly medieval fantasy world are running around saying things like, "For the win!" and using juvenile physical descriptions like this gem. Even the diagonal scar that bisects his left eyebrow only makes him hotter. The dialogue makes characters sound younger than they actually are and creates tonal clashes where just one moment we're in this intense fantasy battle, and the next, someone says something that came straight out of a group chat. The word shit appears 177 times in this book. 177 times. That's not character voice. That's a writer who thinks excessive profanity equals adult sophistication. It's like a teenager who just learned to swear, trying to sound cool at a party. It's more jarring than finding a hair in your soup. I told you I was going to keep the metaphors going. Like watching Game of Thrones and having Jon Snow suddenly start talking like he's auditioning for a reality dating show. Either commit to your fantasy world or write contemporary fiction, but don't half-ass both. Plus, the info dumping is brutal. Violet, she has this convenient habit of reciting geography textbooks whenever she's stressed. It's the literary equivalent of having characters stare at themselves in a mirror to give us physical descriptions. It's all amateur hour bullshit that any decent writing workshop would have caught. The exposition is so clunky, it's like having someone narrate a movie while you're trying to watch it. As you know, Bob, we live in a fantasy world where dragons exist, and just stop. Trust your readers to figure things out through context and action.
Yep. Turned on.
But if you thought the writing was rough, let me tell you about the audiobook experience, because Holy shit. It was like someone decided to torture me for 21 hours straight. Now, I fully believe Rebecca Solar is actually a talented narrator. But whoever approved this recording for release should be fired directly into the sun. Because it's clear she was battling what sounded like the plague during the entire recording session. I'm talking constant throat clearing, audible swallowing, phlegm rattling around in her throat like dice in a cup, post-nasal drip sounds throughout the entire narration, mouth breathing and congested delivery that made me feel like I was sitting next to someone with the flu on a 20-hour flight. It was physically nauseating. I actually had to pause multiple times because the snotty, mouth-breathing, swallowing sounds were making me gag. This was like anti-ASMR, designed specifically to make you feel uncomfortable. And here's what really pisses me off about this. This wasn't just Solar having an off day. This was a complete production failure that raises some serious questions about quality control in publishing. How the hell did the publisher listen to this and think, yeah, it's ready for release? Why didn't they wait for her to recover? Why weren't the obvious audio issues edited out? We're talking about a major release from a major publisher, not some GarageBand podcast recorded in someone's basement. Solar's voice lacked any sort of range because of the congestion. And even when I sped up the playback, you could just hear that there was something lodged deep in her throat. Oh God, it was awful. And this is symptomatic of the same problem plaguing the text itself. Nobody's maintaining standards anymore. If you can rush a book to market with plot holes big enough to drive a truck through, why not rush an audiobook to market with production quality that would embarrass a community college radio station? It's all about hitting release dates and capitalizing on buzz, not about delivering a quality product that respects the customer's experience. And when you're asking people to spend 20 hours listening to your narrator, maybe make sure they don't sound like they're dying of consumption on the Oregon Trail.
I'm going to keep you. You're mine, Violet.
Only if you're mine.
I've been yours for longer than you could ever imagine.
Here's what really bothers me about Fourth Wing's success, and why I'm spending the last, 20 minutes of my life tearing it apart. It represents everything wrong with how books get popular now. This isn't about organic reader enthusiasm. It's about marketing algorithms and manufactured hype. BookTok has created a culture where books are consumed like fast fashion. Pretty covers, tropey content, and bite-sized videos, they all matter more than actual storytelling craft. Publishers see these numbers and they think, this is what readers want. But it's not. It's what the algorithm feeds us because it's easy to package and sell. It's literary McDonald's that's engineered for mass consumption, not nutrition. Meanwhile, genuinely innovative authors are sitting on shelves being ignored because their work doesn't fit in the neat TikTok categories. We're trading substance for style, depth for digestibility. Books that actually challenge readers, that require investment and thought, are being labeled too hard or too slow. I've been reading for 30 years, and I've never seen the gap between popular and good this wide. It's not elitism to expect books to have coherent world building and character development. That's just basic craftsmanship. Most readers, they're smart. We're capable of handling complex narratives, morally ambiguous characters, and world building that doesn't insult our intelligence. But we're being told we want literary junk food, so that's all that gets promoted. It's like if restaurants decided people only wanted chicken nuggets and stopped serving anything else. Yeah, some people would be happy, but think about what we'd be losing.
Lies are comforting. Truth is painful.
I said earlier in this video, I've been part of the problem. I've read books because they were popular, not because they were good. I've fallen for marketing campaigns and hype cycles. I'm looking at you, Dan Brown. But there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, am I reading to be part of a community, or am I reading to be transformed? And there's no right or wrong answer, because those are two very different things, and they lead to very different literary diets. I should have known I wasn't going to enjoy this book, because I'm at a place where I want books that leave me different than when I started them. And I mean, this one did, but it's mainly nauseousness because of the narrator. But that's not what I mean. I want books that challenge my assumptions and show me perspectives I've never considered. Stories that make me think about the world in new ways. And perhaps most importantly, I want books that respect my intelligence enough to make me work for the payoff. Fourth Wing, it doesn't do any of that. It's comfort food. It's familiar. It's easy to digest. And ultimately, it's forgettable. And there's nothing wrong with comfort food occasionally. But this isn't even good comfort food. And when it becomes the only thing being served, we have a problem.
There's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you violence.
Look, if you enjoyed Fourth Wing, I'm not here to take that away from you. Guilty pleasures are called guilty pleasures for a reason. We all have them. I've read romance novels that would make your grandmother blush. And I regret nothing. But let's demand better from our publishing industry. There are incredible books being written right now. Complex, challenging, transformative works that deserve the attention Fourth Wing is getting. And we're better than this. Readers deserve stories that respect their intelligence, with characters who earn their victories, and world building that doesn't crumble under the slightest scrutiny. The success of books like this, it sends a message to publishers that will accept mediocrity as long as it's well marketed. That we don't need coherent plots or even character development as long as there are dragons and abs on the cover. And here's the thing. When we settle for less, we get less. When we reward lazy writing with bestseller status, we encourage more lazy writing. We're creating a literary environment where genuine craft is seen as unnecessary because marketing can cover a multitude of sins. But what are your thoughts on Fourth Wing? Am I being too harsh? Am I just a literary snob? I can handle it. Let me know in the comments. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, your family, and even your enemies. And of course, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button because every subscriber inches me one step closer to taking over the Galaxies. Until next time, take care, keep reading, and I'll see you in the next one.